Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm 30. By the time you're watching this video, at least I will be. When I'm filming it, I'm still 29, but in a couple weeks, I will be turning 30, and I'm honestly so excited. I feel like that episode of Friends just made everybody dread turning 30.
Is that how you felt when you turned 30? Why, God, why?
But I'm actually really excited. I'm excited about all of the things that I know are coming up, all the things that I have planned, all the things that will happen that are unplanned, and just moving into a new decade of life, and just with a lot more, I feel like, wisdom and confidence of who I am and what I want in my life. And so I thought, instead of doing one of those traditional, like, the 30 things I've learned in my 30 years. I feel like a lot of people on social media do those kinds of posts where they share like the things that they've learned or the wisdom that they've gained when they reach this milestone age. And I thought it would be fun to do something slightly different and somewhat goals related. So I'm going to share 30 things I want to do in my 30s. And these are all kind of goal things that I will eventually make goals about when it's time for them to actually happen. But these are the 30 things that I want to do over the next 10 years. Some of them are pretty easy and are gonna happen no matter what. Some of them are gonna take a little bit more work on my part. Some of them may be based on other people, but let's start with the easiest one first, which is get married. I'm currently engaged. We are scheduled to get married next spring. Fingers crossed everything is safe by then, but that is definitely one thing I will be able to cross off in my 30s. The next one is to become a mother. I do want to have kids. I know some of you have asked me that before, if Sam and I plan to have kids. We do plan to have kids. And I do know that this is one of those things that is somewhat out of our control, but we are open to other methods of starting a family if that is what is the plan for us. And so I do believe that at some point in my 30s, I will become a mother in some regards. Charlie's over there saying, excuse me, you're already a mother. The next one is to buy a house. This also kind of feels, those are the easy. Like those first three were really easy. I was like, get married, have a kid, buy a house. Like, and those are the typical things you think of in terms of like life milestones. And I think if you'd asked me 10 years ago, I would have expected at least one, if not more, of those three things to happen in my 20s. And so the fact that they're all happening in my 30s, totally fine by me, but something that I definitely think is on our list of things to do in our 30s. By the way, in case you're curious and you don't know, Sam is 6 months younger than me, so he will be turning 30 later this year. All right, the next one is one that's kind of out of my control, but I'm hoping happens in my 30s, and that is to become an aunt. I have 8 younger siblings. Yes, you heard that right, 8 of them, and I love them all so much. 7 of them are boys. Some of them I don't expect to make me an aunt in my 30s, and I'm also kind of cheating with this one because by marrying Sam, I automatically become an aunt because he already has a nephew. But between Sam's 5 siblings and my 8 siblings, I hope at some point we become aunt and uncle again. And I really want to become an aunt for one of my siblings' children. By the time that I am 40, the oldest batch of them will be 30, 31, 32, and 33. So it's totally possible that none of them have kids at that point, but I'm hoping that at least one of them has at least one. All right, the next one is to fly first class, just something I've never done and hoping to do in my 30s. The next one is to run a Disney race. I've never been much of a runner, and I'm not really planning to be like a super runner and to run a lot of races. In fact, I think the only thing that would probably get me to get up that early in the morning and to run for fun would be running through a Disney park. I originally had talked to a friend about doing it last year in 2020 and it didn't happen, but planning at least some point in my 30s to run a Disney race. All right, the next two are both artists that I really want to see live. They have been on my like dream concert list for a very long time, and so I am putting it out there that I'm going to make this happen in my 30s. The first one is Beyonce. I just really want to see her live, and the second one is Zac Brown Band. All right, the next one is to go on a proper road trip. We obviously went on road trips a lot in 2020, but I really want to go on one where I actually like stop and see things and I'm not just like in a rush to get from point A to point B and not like avoiding restaurants because it's not safe. Like I really want to do like a proper cross-country road trip. I just feel like that would be so much fun. And since we now have gotten our feet wet with driving long distances and like it really wasn't so bad, I feel like this is something we would both really be excited about. The next one is to host a dinner party. I just have never had my own adult space to be able to do that. I've never had like a dining room table to be able to do that. So that's definitely not something that's gonna happen while we still live in New York. It doesn't mean we haven't had friends over for dinner, but I've never I never hosted what I would consider a dinner party, and I think this will have to be after that buying a house step, but something that I definitely want to do. In that same vein, the next one is to eat at a Michelin starred restaurant. I am not a huge foodie. Like, I like good food, but it's not usually my priority. But I know that Sam really likes food, so I feel like this one is also a little bit for him. But I also feel like it's one of those things I want to do just to say that I've done it. The next one is to create a wardrobe that I'm proud of. And this is one that I tried to start doing last year. In January, I was really trying to get an understanding for the colors that I liked and the styles that I liked. And I started reading that book, The Curated Closet, and I was like on a mission to make this happen last year. But then I started working from home and was like, well, what's the point? I'm not gonna go through my clothes now. And so I think this is something I'm gonna wait to do for a little bit until things get settled and the work from home situation isn't the case anymore. But I do feel like I'm starting to come into what colors I like to wear and the styles I like to wear. And so in my 30s, I want to spend a little bit more on some thoughtful pieces for my wardrobe and create a wardrobe that I'm really excited about. All right, the next one is to learn another language. And so that could either be brushing up on my Spanish. I started learning Spanish when I was like 4, literally in preschool. My preschool in San Antonio, Texas, we started learning Spanish very early. And then I took it all the way through college, but I haven't done it in years, and I haven't been to a Spanish speaking country since I went to Argentina 5+ years ago. So I really want to brush up on my Spanish, but I also would love to learn Mandarin. Sam speaks pretty fluent Mandarin, and I would love to, I think if I learned a second language on top, or I guess a third language on top of Spanish, it would be Mandarin. The next one is to get back into piano. I play, same with Spanish, I played piano for basically my entire life, from when I was like 4 until I was 18, and then I basically stopped, and I really want to get back into it. Part of it is a space issue. Where are we gonna put a keyboard? But I think that it would just be a good hobby. I almost wanted to write like, get a hobby, because I feel like anything that I've started as a hobby, it has turned into a business. Not that that's a bad thing, but I think I really am craving like a hobby that's just for me. And even like memory keeping or scrapbooking, a friend was like, you have that, and I'm like, yeah, but then I end up showing it on a video, so is it really for me? And so I feel like getting back into playing piano would truly be a hobby that was just for me, and Sam would also use it too. So I have this huge stack of piano music that my mom sent me home with when they were moving from their house. I rolled my eyes because my mom got a storage unit, and it has all my like childhood stuff, clothing and dance costumes and those kinds of things, but yet she sent me home with this huge stack of piano music. But now I'm kind of thinking, well, maybe if we could squeeze a keyboard in somewhere that we're moving into a bigger apartment, then maybe I could get back into piano sooner rather than later. All right, the next one is to be a bridesmaid in like a traditional sense. So I was a bridesmaid for my friend Nina when we were in India, and I loved every minute of that, because I mean, the outfits, like, they were absolutely beautiful. But obviously her ceremony and her everything about her wedding was very unique to the Indian culture. And that's the only time I've ever been a bridesmaid. And I really want to be a bridesmaid, like in a walk down the aisle, stand up next to the bride and groom kind of way. And I'm kind of also cheating by putting this one on the list because one of my best friends, Jessie, who's one of my bridesmaids, has already asked me to be a bridesmaid in her wedding next year. So I will be able to check this one off. I'm so excited to be a part of their special day, actually in Ireland. So I say traditional, but it's gonna be a relatively traditional wedding, just in another country. Okay, the next one is to create a sustainable, healthy lifestyle. And I do feel like I'm getting there. I do feel like in the last couple of months I've made progress towards getting there, but it's not gonna be really tested until we get back to a real life, right? With social events and weddings and parties and all of those things. So I want to make sure that in my 30s, especially as I hopefully have kids, I am really focusing on a sustainable, healthy lifestyle. I'm still being healthy and being thoughtful about what I'm putting into my body, while at the same time still living my life and enjoying delicious food and drinks. Okay, the next one on the list is to get a dog. I think Sam got in here on my list and tried to add something. I am not opposed to getting a dog, but I'm not necessarily excited about all of the effort that goes into having a dog. That doesn't count as one of my 30. The next one is to move to Chicago. So we have mentioned this in a few videos, and we're still not completely determined on the timeline yet, but our plan is to eventually settle down in Chicago. for a number of reasons. Part of it is family. We feel like when we start a family, we want to be closer to our families, and we just don't have any family here in New York. Well, Sam has some like extended family, some cousins and second cousins, but like grandparents, right? We want to be near some grandparents. And so my mom lives in Chicago. And then I really want a more affordable cost of living, and Sam really loves the big city life. And so Chicago is kind of that perfect balance where he gets his big city, I get my much more reasonable cost of living, and we're close to family. And the next one that I hope will be kind of a result of that one is to get closer with my siblings. I'm like I said, I'm the oldest of 8, and the next closest one to me is 6 years younger, and then they're all kind of bunched together. And 6 years when you are 12 and 18 is huge. That's a huge age difference. He was 12, my brother, when I went away to college. And while we have gotten closer over the last few years, especially since he's graduated college and like is living on his own as an adult, I also like know that as we get older, 6 years is going to feel even shorter. And once we live in the same city and can see each other regularly, I just am hoping and expecting that our relationships can get even closer and I can get closer to my siblings. Right now, 3 of the adult ones live in the city of Chicago. Obviously, I don't know if they're still going to be there or if any more will show up by the time that we move there, but I don't think my brother at least is going anywhere. So even if it's just him that I get closer to, but I would love to get closer to all of my siblings. The next one, I don't think I've ever said out loud in a video, but I would love to write a book. I don't know what it would be about. I don't know. I don't really know much about it other than I would love to do it just because I love to read. I've never been a big writer, so I think I always felt like that I could never really write a book. But the more that I go through life, the more that I realize that writing a book doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a great writer. I could sit here and talk and then we could turn that into a book. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that I like sit there and write with a pen and pencil. And so I think I've always thought that that could never be an option for me since I didn't consider myself a good writer. But the older I get, the more urge I have to eventually write a book someday. All right, the next one is to get my ears pierced again. If you've been around for a while, like pre-YouTube, this was on Instagram a while, I ripped my right earlobe. Like it ripped all the way through. And I went and got it sewn back together, and that Sam and I had just started dating. That's how long ago this was. We'd been dating for a couple of months, and he went with me to both appointments, held my hand, took me to breakfast afterwards, like took care of me while I was dealing with this whole ear situation. And they said I had to wait a year to get them re-pierced. So the Christmas after that, again, a long time ago, Sam got me these beautiful aquamarine earrings for Christmas and said that he would gift me going to get my ear pierced again. And I just never prioritized it. And I haven't. I mean, I haven't had my ears pierced in so long. And then once we got engaged, I was like, I'm gonna do it. I am gonna get my ears pierced so that I can wear earrings. I already have the earrings picked out. It's a set of my mom's pearl earrings that I'm gonna wear at my wedding. So I need to go get my ears pierced. And then the world shut down. And I know things are open again, but that just feels like something I don't need to do yet. But I am gonna go get my ear pierced at some point in the next year before the wedding. Okay, the next one is to figure out a consistent cleaning routine. I feel like I've struggled with this for a long time, and I know that it's only gonna get harder the bigger the space gets and once children are involved. So I feel like this is something I need to master sooner rather than later so that I can easily translate it once there's more space and or children. So I don't know. That's something that I'm gonna start working on this year. Like this is like an earlier 30s one, but figuring out a consistent cleaning routine. Okay, the next one on my list is YouTube related, and that is to hit 100K on YouTube. Not for any other reason other than to get the cool plaque, like the cool silver play button. This is a very like vanity metric kind of goal or thing that I want to do in my 30s, but it just feels like that's something that I could accomplish in the next 10 years. I've actually grown my channel at a pretty slow pace. I started my channel about 3 years ago, and so if I continued at this same pace, like the per year growth, I actually wouldn't hit it. I wouldn't hit 100,000 by the time I was 40, and who knows if I'm still gonna have a YouTube channel by then, I don't know. But I just feel like that's something I wanted to put on this list. All right, the next one is to visit Africa. So my mom and stepdad went to Africa a couple years ago, and they just said it was the best experience ever. And so that's like the one place I got specific on my list about like, this is a place I want to go to, is to go to Africa and go on a safari. It feels like that's a big one that I'm not 100% sure it's gonna happen. I mean, either we do it in the next couple of years, or then we have like little children that we're leaving behind. We're definitely not taking little children with us to Africa. So like that might not be something that happens by the time I turn 40, and it might be something that I do later in life like my mom and stepdad did. But if I was gonna pick like the one place that I want to prioritize going, that's like the number one place, which maybe we should just do that for a honeymoon and just like forget Thailand. All right, the next one is to get a tattoo. Just kidding. I have zero pain tolerance. Like I can't even get shots like at the doctor. I mean, I can, but I don't enjoy getting shots at the doctor. I just cannot imagine myself sitting in a chair and having someone poke me with needles. I feel like, for another friend's reference, it's like when Phoebe gets the whole world. That would be me. Okay, the next one is to get paid to speak on a stage. And that feels very obvious. Like, of course I'm gonna be able to do that. I have spoken on a number of stages over the last couple of years, and most of those events covered my travel costs and my hotel and my ticket to the event. But I didn't start actually charging for speaking until after we went virtual. And so I have been paid for speaking virtually, and I have spoken on a stage, but I really want to get paid to speak on a stage. That's something that I know I can do in the next 10 years. It just felt weird to me. I was thinking about it the other day that I actually have never had that happen. All right, the next one is to get consistent with doctor's visits. I feel like I get good and then I fall off, or I'm good with some and not with the other. But I really want to focus on being consistent with, like, you know, a general practitioner, a dermatologist, the dentist, all of the doctors that we should be seeing on a regular basis. Again, I feel like I have not been doing a good job of that, and I want to get back to it. All right, the next one is to do more volunteer work. I feel like in the last couple of years, I have been doing a lot of just monetary donating. And I think I tell myself, like, well, I can help, and so I'm going to help in that way. And I know that that's valuable for these organizations, but I also know that a lot of organizations, there's also a lot of value in boots on the ground and helping out in person and doing something in person. And I also really want this to be something that we do as a family. Once we have children, I want to make sure that this is something that we're doing regularly as a family. My parents did that for me growing up. I was also part of Girl Scouts, and we did it a lot through Girl Scouts, but my parents also took me, we would do things through our church. There were all kinds of volunteer things that my parents would take me to, and I want to make sure that I'm doing the same. So I feel like, again, kind of like the cleaning, it's one of those habits I want to start working on instilling now, so that when there are children, it's kind of just easy to bring them along. I mean, you know, once they're old enough. All right, the next one is to buy a nice mattress. That may sound sort of funny, but I bought this mattress 8 years ago when I graduated from college from IKEA. And it's not a bad mattress, but it's not a great mattress. And I always said I just wouldn't buy another one until we moved, because it doesn't make sense to buy a nice mattress now and then pay to move it to Chicago. And also from a size standpoint, I hope that when we move to Chicago, we have space for a king size bed. We don't have a space for a king size bed in New York. So this is our queen size mattress that we're gonna stick with. And then when we move, we'll just get rid of this one and buy a new one. But we really need one of those mattresses where each side is different, because I really like fluffy, soft mattresses, and he likes really, really hard mattresses. All right, the next one is kind of similar to hosting a dinner party, but I really wanna host a major holiday. And whether that's Thanksgiving feels like a lot of pressure, or Christmas morning maybe, or Passover, or Rosh Hashanah, or I don't know, one of those major holidays, I really would love to host our family over. And I think, again, as we start to have children, I feel like that's the theme of this whole thing. Clearly that's like the underlying theme of my 30s. I think that it will make more sense, like maybe to host Christmas morning at our house and have like my mom and stepdad come here instead of us going to my mom's. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what holiday it is, but I would love to host a major holiday. All right, there is one other travel one, but I didn't get specific as like a country, but I really want to go wine tasting in Europe. I love wine. You probably know that at this point. I love wine, and I have been to Napa a few times. I went for my 21st birthday with my dad and stepmom, and then I went again for my friend Nina's bachelorette party, and I love Napa. But I just really want to go wine tasting in Europe. I don't feel like I know as much about European wines, and I feel like I would learn a lot and enjoy that. And just, it doesn't matter. It can be Italy, France, Spain, any of the countries. I'm open to it, but I want to go wine tasting in Europe. And then the last one on my list is to do a CEO retreat. So this year I've really been focusing on being the CEO of my business, and I really want to take the time to go away for a weekend and just be by myself and focus on the business and do CEO thought-provoking things. Honestly, I don't know everything that it entails quite yet, but I do have other friends who own their own businesses who have done this before and said that it's been incredibly valuable for them and their business. So definitely in my 30s, as I continue to focus on my business and be that CEO role, as opposed to like just worrying so much about the day-to-day. It's not that I'm not going to worry about it, because it has to get done, but I really want to take the time to step away, step out of the business to really think about those kinds of things. All right, that's it. I say that's it. That's a lot of things, and they might not all happen in my 30s, or they might all happen by the time, they're not all gonna happen by the time I'm 35, but regardless, I'm really excited. I'm excited about the next chapter of my life, and I'm excited to bring you along with me. So if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please click that subscribe button. I upload new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday focused on helping you achieve your goals. Thank you so much for watching. What? Reading the book, what is the name of the book? The Bigger the Space Gets. Let me do that math, hold on. But we really need one of those mattresses where each side is a different, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a hair in my mouth.